This is Unspoiled Special Edition, covering Stranger Things, Season 1, Episode 4, Chapter 4, The Body. In this episode, Hopper follows his gut and finds out that Will's body doesn't have any. Welcome to Unspoiled Special Edition.
I loved Hopper so much in this episode.
Oh my god.
Loved it. I was like, oh, you're such a badass. This is fantastic.
I have an enormous crush on Hopper.
I am sure you do.
I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Like, it's just, he's just, yeah. He's, first of all, an instinct guy, and second of all, punchy punch guy. So,
yeah, you do like punchy punch guys.
I like me a punchy punch guy.
As soon as he punched someone, I'm like, oh, Natasha's going to have trouble.
You know me so well.
Well, because you'd already been like, yeah, that's the kind of guy that I'd be like, hey, what's up?
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as the punch came, I was like, yep, she's done.
And it's like, I don't realize really how tall he is until he's up against a bunch of people this episode, and everybody feels like they're about 1.5 feet shorter than him.
Yeah. He has to, like, bend down to talk to Joyce. Like, he has to, like, basically, like, go into a crouch to be able to look Winona in the eye.
I wonder how tall she is. She's got to be, like, 5'2", maybe?
Yeah, she's real little.
I'm looking her up. So what did you think of this episode?
Oh, I really liked this episode. I thought it was great.
This is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just because things really start to kind of coalesce.
Right, exactly.
She's 5'3". She's a little taller than I expected.
Yeah, that might be a lie, though. They all lie.
That's
like
true.
Tom Cruise says he's 5'10". I mean...
Does he?
Uh-huh.
He's what, 5'6", probably?
Oh, yeah, tops.
Yeah.
He wears lifts. Like, they still don't get him much above 5'8", so I don't know what he's trying to pull on people. But although women tend to lie and say they're shorter than they are, and men try and say they're taller than they are. My sister's 5'10", or like 5'10 and a half, and when she was acting, there were a couple times where like the guys she was acting against had to stand on boxes.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So... height is not great for you in Hollywood. And so any of the women who say they're 6 feet tall, like Sigourney Weaver says she's 6 feet tall, Gina Davis says she's 6 feet tall. I'm 6 feet tall. And I'm like, I bet they're taller than me. Mm-hmm. I bet they're like 6'2". I bet you they're rounding down. A lot of women do that. But I'm always psyched when there's like a successful tall person. I'm like, go team tall. Yeah, anyway, but Winona is not on our team, but that's okay because she's still adorable. But, oh, poor Winona.
I know.
And the thing with the wall and
my God.
Okay, but let's start at the beginning because we'll get distracted if I start being like this.
We open up with Hopper coming to tell her that they found Will's body. And they do it in this really interesting, indistinct way where you can't actually hear his voice. You just see her staring into space in this kind of Charlie Brown, wah, wah, wah in the background.
Yeah.
And then finally she's like, whatever you found or whoever you found, that's not my boy. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, I was talking to him just half an hour ago. See, he was doing, and she goes and grabs the lights, and everything she says sounds so insane.
Right. And I love that as she's doing it, she keeps saying, she's like, I know this sounds insane, mm-hmm. but I'm not crazy, but I know what this sounds like. Yep. I'm not out of my mind, but you have to believe me. And Hopper is so delightful. I love him. I love that because he's able to relate to this mm-hmm. so closely. And the look on his face when he talks to her, he's so sincere mm-hmm. and just really trying to get through to her that he understands what she's going through.
Yeah, even compassionate to this point that it's like heartbreaking.
It is, because he's like, I went through the same thing when Sarah died. I felt like I could hear her where I went places, and she's like, no.
Yeah, she says, you're talking about grief, and that's not what this is. And I think more than anything, when she says that, it sort of stops him because she's so aware of the difference. And, you know, usually when people are losing it, they aren't able to distinguish that well
No.
You know, so the fact that she says that and then says, I need you to believe me, it like gets in his head a little bit.
It does.
And the way he handles everything is the best. I can't, I love him so much. But yeah, so she explains that to him, and the scene ends with him getting back into his car, and her son is in bed, Jonathan, with his headphones on, crying.
Listening to Joy Division.
Yeah.
That song killed me a little bit when that started playing. I was like, oh God.
It's a really great, like, I can't think of the word. Bleak isn't quite right, but like almost.
And mournful. Like
mournful,
the word,
that's fair, yeah.
It's just so, I mean, most Joy Division songs are like that, but that one in particular, oh.
And she goes into the shed and gets an axe.
Oh, and then just sits on the couch with the axe.
Yep.
She's ready.
She is.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And, she's just waiting for this fucking thing to come back. And we have we go to the Wheeler house, and the parents are watching TV talking about whether they should go and speak to their son. And they say that when he wants to talk, he'll come to us, to which I'm like, you're the parents. You should not be handling a death of a friend that way.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think it's very lazy.
Yeah, we're just going to sit up here and watch TV and assume he's fine until he wants to talk to us about it. I'm like, you guys, be a little more hands-on than that. Just, feel him out. Like, at least try. And if he tells you to fuck off, then fuck off. But,
this is part of your job. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
So then we go into the basement, and he's looking through a bunch of drawings that Will has done, and he's really pissed at Elle.
Right.
And she's over there fiddling with this radio, and he keeps telling her to knock it off. And all of a sudden, you can hear Will singing, "Should I stay or should I go?" And it's just this great moment where he looks up and Elle is staring at him, and she's got blood coming out of her nose, and she's just like, yeah, there he is. How about that?
Yeah, doesn't she say Will?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep.
I loved that scene, and I love, I was surprised that Mike let her come back to his house.
Yeah, I guess he has enough guilt with her not having anywhere else to go that he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But agreed.
Yeah, and just, I really love the relationship between the two of them, that I was grateful that it was patched up so quickly and in such a dramatic way.
Mm-hmm.
In such a, like, now he has to believe.
Yeah.
Because there's no getting around that. That was clearly Will.
Yep.
Like, what else could that be? And of course, when he tells his friends, they think he's crazy. Because he sounds crazy. That's the recurring theme here. A lot of these people sound real crazy.
So, yeah, the scene ends with him just, like, staring at the radio.
Staring, yeah.
And then we have Joyce, who's been dreaming. She gets woken up because Jonathan wants to go to the morgue to view Will's body. And the scene cuts away, but let's just talk about that, because Jonathan sees the body and immediately believes and, like, throws up.
And throws up, yeah. But they won't let him. They won't let them get close to him. They have to see him from, like, super far away through this window, which is insane.
Yeah.
I've never seen, I mean, maybe they've just never been in a situation where they're supposed to identify a body, but, like, anytime I've seen people have to identify a body on a TV show, they get to stand next to the body and actually look at it. Not like,
I was thinking,
hey, let's make him wave from far away.
I have seen a lot of shows where people identify through glass, and I'm not really sure what, what situations make that a necessity.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely something I've seen before. And I don't know if maybe it's like when the body is so damaged, or if it's part of another investigation, or maybe if they haven't done an autopsy, or if they're keeping the body for evidence.
Right.
And they need to make sure that it's untainted.
Nobody touches it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's through glass and it's far away.
Yeah.
Like, she has to shout to him to, like, show the birthmark.
Mm-hmm.
That just seemed like, that's fishy, you guys. Like, that's not going to convince her.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, so she asks to see this birthmark on his right arm, And we don't see the result of that, but one can assume it's not there.
Right.
And she comes running out, and she's saying, I don't know what that thing is in there, but that is not my son.
Right.
And Hopper's trying to reason with her, and her son is trying to reason with her, and she's just not, she's not here for this. And she goes and runs out, and Jonathan has to track her down, and he gets in a shouting match with her in the street because he feels abandoned, because she's going to totally not participate in planning the funeral or anything. So he's going to have to do that all himself.
And he's not wrong. Like, and it's not even the funeral thing. It's that she's not appreciating that she has another son who really needs her right now. Yeah. As grown up as he aspires to be and has been, obviously playing that role in this household, he's still a kid.
Yeah.
And she is just not even, he's not in her frame of reference at all. Yeah. It's really sad. I really feel for him because he has nothing. He has no support, and she's just not able to give it to him. Oy.
And meanwhile, Mr. Hopper is talking to, I don't know if it's a secretary or what, but, he's just talking to her while they're looking at the body. And she says something about, he asks about, like, so-and-so doing the autopsy. And she's like, oh, no, they sent him home. And he's like, wait, what?
Well, yeah, who sent him home? Right.
And she says, a couple of guys from state. And he says, well, then who did the autopsy? And she shrugs, and it's just like, well, somebody from state. And he gets this look on his face. Like, it's not enough to immediately be like, something's up. But it's enough to just bother him.
Right.
Like, it just keeps on coming back, this sort of like, but why all of this ceremony, though? And later on, he's talking to a guy who was there when they got the body out of the water.
Right. And he goes looking for that guy.
Yeah.
Because I think he sees his name on the news.
Oh, you're talking about the guy in the bar.
Yeah. Oh, no, okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about that old man.
Right. I remember now. Yeah.
And he's like, it all seemed a bit much considering. He's like, considering what? And he said, considering this was Will Byers and not John F. Kennedy.
Right.
And so all of these things kind of come together for him to just be like, yeah, this is irregular. There's just something about this that makes it different and is drawing their attention. And what is that?
Yeah.
So he's a smart cookie, and Hopper forever.
Team Hopper. Yeah. I really liked as much that his instinct was overriding sort of his pragmatism. Mm-hmm. I like that about him.
And that really comes down to that he trusts Joyce.
Yeah, part of him really does.
And I like that being a detail, because that's such a thing in horror movies and stuff, is that people don't believe each other, even though they know each other forever. A lot of the times, the whole point of the story is that they're childhood friends or, a new couple or whatever. Right. And somebody that they should trust, or at least, like, listen to at all, tells them something, and they just don't, because it just sounds that outlandish. And here they're like, no, these people they've, like, been in the same town forever now. Right. Him and Joyce probably have a history that's not really confirmed, but it's, like, hinted.
Right.
And that means something.
Yeah, there's a definite affection between the two of them that we didn't see with Hopper and the librarian.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. So then what's the scene after that?
After that, we go to
is there Nancy stuff?
School. Yeah, when Nancy is talking to Steve, and he's telling her that this is bad because his parents are going to kill him, and please don't tell the cops anything about the beer.
Right. Oh, God damn it, Steve. Come on. So he says, like, my dad is a grade A asshole. He's going to kill me if he finds out we were drinking at a party. And I'm like, someone disappeared.
Yep.
This second person in, like, 3 days has disappeared. And you're worried about getting in trouble for drinking. If your dad's that big an asshole, then fuck your dad.
Yep.
Seriously, in that sort of situation, for somebody to be worried about that detail, I mean, it doesn't surprise me because there are assholes out there, but I would honestly just be like, well, you're ridiculous. Yeah. What are you talking about? But I seem to have a different set of priorities than Steve does in
Yeah, I think
life.
most people do.
Right. And Nancy's just like, I can't believe you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really like one of those moments where it because this is something that I had noticed in myself for a little while where and I don't even want to say that it's like gone, but I feel like once I realized it, I started to be able to address it. That when certain things happened, I would have a very selfish reaction. Like my
Mm-hmm.
immediate thought would always be like, "But what about me?"
Right.
And it was, it's just the kind of thing that it was ugly to see in myself. And I'm pretty sure that I still have that happen plenty of the time. But
I think it's pretty natural.
I
But
mean,
you have to sort of recognize it and then be like, all right,
at least keep your mouth
that
shut
was,
about
yeah.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, exactly. But seriously, be selfish in your brain, but
Right.
like express empathy outwardly.
Exactly.
That's
So,
the bare
yeah,
minimum you can expect from other humans.
Steve doesn't have a lot of self awareness, is
No, and he's
what I'm
still a
thinking.
kid. Like it makes sense.
Hmm.
I knew people who would have had that exact same reaction, and I would have, friends of mine, and I would have been super disappointed in them. But as an adult, I get it, and
Hmm.
they're better people as adults. They grew out of it, so there's hope for Steve.
I'm trying to think. There was some movie where there's like somebody ODs and they go and drop them off in front of the
Oh
emergency
yeah,
room, but they
I
just
know
leave them.
exactly. And then they just drive away. What
Yeah,
was that? I
I
totally know what you're
I
talking
can't
about, but I'm not
remember.
gonna be able to.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
like,
not
is
gonna place it.
for some reason I keep thinking Almost Famous, but that's not it. Is
No,
it?
no, it's not. I don't think.
Um, and maybe Requiem for a Dream. I don't
No,
know.
there weren't. None of them had enough friends to be dropping
And
anybody
they
off.
didn't really have cars either, did they?
That's true because they were on Coney Island. They didn't have cars. Oh, that movie's so fucked up.
Yes. But
Uh,
yeah, so she just walks away from him at that point and is just like, you know what? Fuck you and fuck your friends and fuck your face and you're the worst. Um, so back at the Wheelers' house, they have realized that they're going to, because Dustin and Luca have come over, and they have realized that if they want to get in contact with Will, they're going to need a
Stronger
better
radio.
radio. Yeah. So they dress up Elle in
Oh,
this dress and wig.
which again is so ET. It's out of control.
Yeah.
That was a pretty straightforward homage. at
Yeah.
least at least they didn't put her in the hat. Didn't ET have a
There was
hat
no
on
hat.
top of
That's
this
true.
wig? Oh
Yeah,
my
this was something
gosh.
that like I haven't watched ET in so long, and even I remembered this, and I was
Yeah.
like, I went and looked it up, and at least yeah, ET's outfit is much more ridiculous. So they kept it pretty restrained at least. And
But still, the dress with like the smocking and it's just
hmm
ridiculous. But she looks so adorable. And he sits the scene with them like in shadow with him putting makeup on
oh my
her.
God.
There's something about that them sitting like cross-legged across from each other in profile that reminded me of 16 Candles.
Oh, okay, I see
Like at
that.
the end where they're over the cake,
Hmm.
and there's this sort of because just the angle of how they're leaning towards each other to do this sort of intimate activity, but it's at a level of 12-year-olds,
Hmm.
and it's so cute. And she doesn't, when he touches her, she flinches
He touches her with the
with the
brush to put
brush.
blush
Yeah,
on, and she's just like, "What the fuck?" And he calms her down, and but she's still kind of like, okay."
right.
Oh my
This
God, that
seems
made me laugh
weird.
so hard.
Oh, so cute. And then he puts like the lip gloss on her, and then she comes out and looks in the mirror, and the guy, one of them says, "You look," she looks, and Mike
Dustin,
says,
yeah,
"Yeah," and Mike says, "Pretty," and he goes, "Good, pretty good."
yeah.
It's like, oh, Mike, you're cute.
Which I was like, because she's supposed to be what, 12? The
Yeah,
putting blush and lip gloss on her felt a little unnecessary. Like I wasn't wearing that stuff when I was 12 years old. It
yeah,
doesn't seem like most girls are really like, doing makeup much when they're that young.
but they didn't put that much on her.
It's true. I just feel
She
like
wasn't
it
like in hooker
probably,
makeup or anything. It was just, I think they were sort of like, she's real pale.
yeah,
She's been
that's
like
true.
locked up for a while. Let's give her a little color.
That's true.
Um, she's basically green from lack of sunlight. So let's help her out. Let's
Um,
give her some bronzer.
so they head out and we cut to the lab
Mm-hmm.
and there is this guy who's like tethered, and he's going in through this rift.
Oh, this scene.
Right?
What the fuck is happening? What the fuck is happening? I don't get it. I mean, it's cool, but I'm just like, I have no idea what's happening, like what their goal is, like how little they know about what's happening inside this creepy rift.
Yep.
Because the guy says there's something in here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he doesn't know that there's a monster.
I don't think they're quite aware. Yeah.
I feel like Matthew Modine must know there's a monster. I don't know. Maybe he knows and the people he works with don't.
I think that's what it is.
So like he's sending people in like, hey, let's find out what's in there. Like they're just sacrificial lambs to him. Like he doesn't give a shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's an upper echelon that sort of knows what's going on, and then there's the poor saps who have to do the actual exploring and get eaten. And the thing comes out all bloody.
Oh my god, the cable, which is not thin, is snapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it's not snapped, but like part of it is. I don't know, but it comes out and it's covered in blood, and the alarm is going off, and there's this sound of this animal, and and
then you see the stuff kind of reclosing.
Yep.
There are like threads over it of goo.
It's so cool.
That are like nope and close back up.
I love that material. Like it looks like a combination of like cobwebs, but cobwebs that like move as if they were underwater almost. I don't know. There's just the design of that I think is so neat. I really like it. It's really grossifying. And
I'm really pretty sure that those are all practical effects, that there's not any CGI going on. I feel like they're really pretty committed to having done this as...
Oh, see, I thought that was for sure CGI.
I don't know. Everything I've heard about it says that most of what happened on the show is practical effects, because they wanted to make it as much like an old horror movie as
I wonder
they
how
could.
they achieved that then. That's interesting. Because it sort of reminded me of like the memories in the pensieve in Harry Potter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I feel like they could do it with fabric and thread that's just covered in glue.
but fabric doesn't stay up when it's weighed down with the liquid. It's not going to float the way that stuff does. Like their hand passes in front of it and it flutters as if it's like weightless.
Yeah. When I'm done watching the show, I'll do more research on it. But the little I've seen, people have said that they really did almost everything without CGI. But it's certainly possible. I mean, obviously they had to do some CGI, like, you know, those snowflakey whatevers that are sort of floating around. That's added in post. You know, they didn't... That can't be like... There's actually like a snow machine sitting on top of the set.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because they look weirder than that. So maybe I'd be interested to find out. But I still have a ways to go before I get to do any of this. That's the thing, is usually when I watch a show, I'm reading all the press about it at the same time, like just, you know, gobbling up all the like think pieces about it, and like BuzzFeed's, you know, here's 30 movie references you might have missed in Stranger Things. And I'm like, I want to read that, but they're going to be references to things I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
So it sucks. This all the time. But it's, you know, it's been an interesting experience, but that's totally how I watch shows. So not being able to do that is hard, but cool at the same time.
Well, I will look up, if you see one of those, send it to me and I can read it and then tell you the thing that you didn't that you can't read.
That I can't read.
Yeah.
Tell me that.
I'll tell you the one spoiler and then just like ruin everything.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we go to the next scene, which is I think it's a very important scene, but it is so painful to watch, which is Nancy getting quizzed by the cops. It's super gross.
You know, it reminded me so much of like she was reporting a rape.
Exactly.
And they were questioning everything about what she had been doing that night.
Yep.
As if everything is her fault. Yep. And, you know, she's not a reliable eyewitness because she's a slutty slut who sluts.
Yep.
Basically. It was just that exact same vibe, but in a but they're talking about something super weird and supernatural. But the look on poor Nancy's face, and the fact that she's trying to lie about, well, we were just talking, he's just a friend. And her mom is like, what the fuck? Come on.
It's so, like, when she realizes
that they're just not gonna
it's like, and she sits back and she looks so angry, and I loved it so much, because every woman in the world has had this moment at least once in their lives where they're like, oh, I get it, what I say doesn't matter, okay. And her righteous anger when she goes home and faces off with her mom, like, you know, she's like, it doesn't matter, and her mother's like, yes it does, and she's like, no, it really doesn't. Barb is missing.
Yeah, Barb is gone. It has nothing
to do with her. Yeah. Meanwhile, they're trying to somehow pin the blame for Barb's disappearance on the fact that she slept with a boy.
Right. Like, and they're saying that Barb probably just ran away because now where she said her car was is now gone.
Right.
So that was an interesting detail.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, oh, the energy department guys now know about this and have gone to clean up that evidence. But yeah, it's interesting. There's sort of another Twin Peaksy reference. In Twin Peaks, there's the sheriff, and then he's got two deputies. He's got Hawk and Andy. And Hawk is sort of the quiet, skeptic guy, and Andy's the total goofball spaz. And these two deputies sort of feel the same way, but in like a really dark, unpleasant way. Because both Andy and Hawk are really good guys at heart. And these guys seem like there's a doofus and a skeptic, but they're also assholes.
Right.
And I'm like, get it together. You guys are the worst.
I've just like, this was just so unexpected to me that this show would explore this aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I really appreciated that they treated it that way, because honestly, there's no reason to think that this isn't exactly how it would go.
Oh, yeah.
And her mother sitting there, obviously so focused on the fact that my daughter slept with somebody that she's not even going to step in to defend her and be like, how is this relevant? You know?
Yeah.
That's, again, it's not like her parents aren't bad people, but they just don't have their priorities straight.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
So... yeah, and she says, we just talked, and he's like, yeah, was that before or after you went to take off your clothes? And I was just like, you know, oh my God. And she sits back with her arms folded, and then they go home, and she says to her mom, we slept together. Is that what you want to hear? It has nothing to do with anything. And
what a horrible way to have to tell your parents that you lost your virginity.
Right?
Like, that's just so awful. You know, because first of all, you don't want to tell your parents when you've lost your virginity anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I know someone who did that, who, like, called home from college to tell her mom that she'd lost her virginity. Her mom was like, I don't need to know that.
Right.
I'm done talking about that with you.
Oh, man.
My mom was sort of the same way. Like, you just do what you need to do. I don't need to hear about it. Be safe. She actually sent me a message in college once that was like, I don't know what's going on with you and your new boyfriend, but condoms, condoms, condoms.
Yeah.
And said boyfriend, who is now my husband, was standing behind me when I read that email. Like, this is back in the 90s, so there were like terminals in the bottom of dorms where you could check your emails, like in the lobby, and that's what I was checking.
Oh my God.
And he was standing next to me, and he's like, well, that's cool. Glad to know your mom's thinking about that. And I'm like, oh God, that's so embarrassing. But it was cool too. Like, that's the sort of parents that I had. They were like, just be safe, and then I don't want to hear about it.
It's better than beating you on social media to shame you in front of all of your friends.
Yeah, that'd be real bad. No, nowhere near that.
Yeah, my mom was like immediately like, well, you're going to the gynecologist, so let's go.
Right.
Get you some birth control.
Right.
And I was like, thanks, Mom, because now I don't need to use condoms. Even though that's not the smartest thing.
No, it's not.
Condoms suck.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're not wrong. But I was also, I'd been on birth control since I was in high school, and not because I was sexually active, because I got I had medical reasons to go on them. And it was, so here's another thing about being a lady that I'm going to complain about. Our health insurance would not cover birth control pills for me because I was 16 and I was, a minor on my parents' plan. And they were like, nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
And my mom I've never seen my mom so mad, like on the phone screaming at someone. Like, this is not, like, you're basically implying my daughter is a slut, which, first of all, is none of your business. Second of all, isn't true. Third of all, this is a medical thing that was prescribed by a doctor for medical reasons. Should be covered by our medical insurance plan. And she managed to get it covered.
I mean, it's like they put people on it for endometriosis and all kinds of things, don't they? So it's like, it's not just, even if it is, it's not, like she said,
and even if it is, it's none of your business. But, if you're going to be a dick about it, there are medical reasons to take this. It's a medication.
Yep.
God damn it. The world sucks, I think is basically.
It does.
But Nancy, condoms, but also maybe birth control pills. And I don't think either of those things happened in this encounter. I think that this was poorly thought out. They weren't taking precautions in 1983 in Steve's house. Steve is not the let's make sure we're wearing condoms in 1983 kind of guy.
I could see him being the kind of guy that has condoms because he wants to be able to be like, look how much sex I'm having.
There is that. But really, obviously I wasn't having sex in the 80s because I was 3, but I really don't think it was that big. Birth control wasn't like, contraceptives on the guy's end were not as big a thing until the early 90s or the late 80s and early 90s when AIDS started getting so much press. And it became a really big thing among sort of the youth. Like MTV was nonstop AIDS coverage from like 1991 to 1996. It was constant. And we were just so beat over the head with it, which is a good thing because it really did raise a whole sort of generation, this late generation X, people who were really like, okay, they're telling us we need to be protected. And that was not really a message that kids were getting before that because it didn't seem like life and death. And all of a sudden they were able to make it like, we're not talking about pregnancy and syphilis. We're talking about something that'll kill you. And it became a bigger deal and people became more conscientious. And I think that's worn off a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Because now AIDS doesn't seem like as big a deal because it's really settled into this idea of, hey, remember how we said anybody can get it?
Not really. It's
not really. It really is like gay people and drug users and women who sleep with gay men who don't tell them they're gay.
Oh God, yeah.
That happens, but the dudes are usually pretty safe. So unfair. So I feel like that's dropped off considerabody. But, when I was in college, it was like free condoms, throw them in the air, like, like everywhere. Condoms. I don't think Nancy's on top of that. And I don't think Steve gives a shit. So the mom is right to be concerned to an extent.
But she's not concerned about the fact that this girl is missing.
Oh, no.
Like, she doesn't seem to really care about Barb at all, specifically.
No, especially since they say this thing about now her car's gone. And the mom is like, well, then obviously she took off. So why are we even thinking about this anymore? Now I can focus on the fact that my daughter's sleeping with this guy and I'm going to freak out about it. Even though in the last episode she said she wasn't going to freak out about it.
Right.
Now she's freaking out about it because she knows her daughter lied to the cops about it. And that makes it a bigger deal, I think, in her head. Because that's how she starts the conversation, right? By saying, you just lied to the cops. And Nancy's like, no, I didn't. And she's like, how naive do you think I am?
Yeah.
Come on.
And I'm just like, yeah, she did lie to the cops, except that was none of their goddamn business, so it doesn't count.
That's true, so it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? Like, why would that even be part of the...
we have to move because we had started so late that we're not going to have time to cover everything.
Okay.
So when she storms away from her mom, she goes upstairs. She pulls the fragments of the photo out of her purse that have Barb on them, and she notices this weird shape.
Yeah.
And she starts to tape it together, and there's just this faint figure right behind Barb.
It's so faint you can barely see it.
Yeah.
But it just looks like this weird distortion that shouldn't be in the picture.
And this is something that, like, she probably, even if she hadn't gone into the woods and seen something without a face, she would have, like, noticed this and been like, that's weird.
Right.
But having had that bizarre encounter just really, like, changes it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that leads to her going to talk to Jonathan later, but we will get there. Next is the boys sneaking Elle into the school.
Right,
and
which
there
is funny.
This hilarious encounter with the science teacher. What's your name? Eleanor. She's his cousin. Cousin.
From Sweden.
Oh my god.
She doesn't talk a lot. She doesn't speak really good English. Oh, Eleanor. And she looks so perplexed by them.
I love Dustin because he's like, where are you from? And she says, bad place. And that was when they interrupt. And everybody's talking about how it's really cold there. And Dustin's like, Sub-Zero.
He's so great.
I love this actor so much. And I want him to be in everything always. What a little treasure he is.
He really is.
Oh. So they get ushered away from this room that has the radio in it to the assembly.
Right. He says that they have to go to the assembly, but if they go to the assembly, then they can come back and use the radio for as long as they want. So they're like, all right, I guess so.
Yep.
And they go to is the assembly the next scene?
Yeah.
Straight to it?
Well, it's not, but we can go to it.
Yeah, we might as well. So they're at the assembly and they see those dickhead bullies laughing. And just being dickhead bullies.
It reminded me of Malfoy making that joke at the end of the 4th book, and Harry sees them, like him and his cronies, like laughing and not raising their goblets in memory or anything, and he's just so sickened by it.
Yeah. And then Elle calls them mouth breathers.
Oh, is that the best?
That was so funny.
I love that she's just like, I know enough to be able to tell that's exactly who you meant.
Oh, man. So to Mike's credit, he goes up to them as they're all leaving and is like, what the fuck is the matter with you?
Yeah. And they're like, didn't you hear? Grief shows itself in strange ways.
Worst.
Right? So they're turned to walk away and Mike loses his temper and just runs forward and shoves one of them.
Oh, it's so great.
It is great. And that kid gets up and turns around and starts running at him. Says, you're dead. And then all of a sudden, he is stopped in mid-stride. What did you think when this first happened?
Oh, well, I knew it was Elle.
I figured, like, you know that it's Elle. What did you think was going to happen?
I really didn't know. I was like, is she going to crush him like a Coke can?
I was a little worried about that. You know, she had snapped somebody's neck in an episode with no trouble at all.
Right.
So I was really like, oh God, Elle, please don't do this in the middle of an auditorium full of children.
But she makes such a great choice. Oh, it's so good.
Yep.
She makes him piss his pants.
Oh,
and he's looking down like, what's happening? And you can see it trickling all the way down his pants. And everybody immediately is like, hey, look.
Yep.
He pissed his pants.
No control over himself, which must be really terrifying. Not being able to move and the whole thing. And basically everybody laughs until one of the teachers notices. And then they're like, oop, scatter, scatter.
Right.
And even his, like, henchman just abandons him.
Oh, totally.
He's like, I'm not walking down the hallway with you with your fucking piss all down your pants. Yeah, that's embarrassing.
That's unfortunate. Yeah.
Pretty great thing, though.
Yep, but real great. Oh, man. So good. So assembly's done and now they have access to the radio.
Yes.
Should we just do that scene next?
Okay, sure.
Because is that the last thing with them in the episode? That they go to the radio and Elle, she has a flashback while she's on the big radio. That's when the flashback happens, right?
Right.
She's looking at the picture of this guy and Matthew Modine's telling her to focus on him and repeat back the words that he's saying. But instead of repeating back the words, she's able to just tune him in.
them.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And Matthew Modine looks so excited.
Yeah. That's what's so frustrating is that, you know, these experiments are not for nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's what makes me so mad is that what they're doing is working and giving them results and is potentially incredibly useful. Yeah. And I just hate that they're getting any kind of validation at all. It just makes me super angry.
Yep. They are successfully weaponizing this child, basically.
Yep. So, yeah, while she tunes in, well, actually, you know what? Can we wait and come back to that? Because the scene with Joyce kind of is parallel at the same time. So let's finish talking about Nancy, because she goes to find Jonathan, and he's picking out caskets.
And when they say the thing about like, I don't know what your budget is, but we also have these over here in bronze or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he cannot even afford this wood one you just showed him, dude. Yeah. Like nobody budgets for funerals.
Yeah.
And like, if I had to deal with that, I would be like, can you cremate me and like put me in a Quaker Oats jar? Like, right? I don't, like, what? No.
I've told Owen that I want to be cremated and flushed down the toilet, but he says no.
I definitely want to be cremated, but even then, like, they put you in a pine box or a cardboard box or something before they cremate you, and you have to pay for the box. God. They don't just like toss a body in a fire.
Here's a $1,000 box. I'm going to
basically they're gonna find. They find some way to do it, but like an actual casket they're gonna bury, that thing's gonna cost like $4,000, and that's not even on top of the cost of the ceremony itself. And I'm like, they don't have that. Who has that? Right. I don't have that. They definitely don't have that.
Yeah, this was this is something that I always get like so much anxiety about, is watching people in movies that are broke, having to deal with something, and like they never really get into it, but it's always just enough to let you know this is going to be a problem, which is just enough to give me anxiety and make me worry about it.
Yeah, I have so much money anxiety all the time.
I hear you, girl.
That seeing it on a TV show like that just makes me like, I feel nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really makes me feel nauseous. Like, how are they going to deal with that? And it's something, as a kid watching this, I wouldn't have even thought about for a second. But as an adult, I'm like, that's the problem.
Yep.
That's a real problem. How do you find thousands of dollars like that?
Whatever the case, Nancy shows up and she is talking to him about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she mentions seeing something in the woods, and she's obviously really loath to repeat what she said to Steve because of the way Steve reacted.
Right.
But then Jonathan's like, it didn't have a face, and she stops and is like, how did you know that? And I love that moment so much, because she's like, oh God, I can talk about it with somebody.
Right. Somebody's going to believe me.
Yep. And
Jonathan at the same time is like, oh shit, my mom was right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an interesting realization for him.
Right.
So we've got partners.
Yay!
Go team Nancy and Jonathan.
And this is something too that I really like. They made it feel like Nancy's storyline was going to be kind of trite at the start, and they're turning her into somebody of consequence here. Like, she's going to be very involved, and not in the just kind of like somebody that I know was involved and I'm so sad, which is super boring to watch and nobody cares.
Yeah. So now this is a person who is invested and determined.
Right.
And I like that. Because that's the person that she seems like at the outset, you know, that she's obviously a kid who has always been a good kid. Like, they talk about how she used to join into their Dungeons and Dragons games a little bit. They mentioned in the first episode.
Yeah, she would dress up.
Yeah, so she is a person with a real strength of character that I think was sort of letting herself lose to a certain extent in this relationship. Even though she said she wasn't going to, you see it sort of trickling away from her a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's reclaiming some agency here, and I like that.
So we go from there to Hopper at the bar.
Oh, Hopper at the bar.
I
I
was so
love
like
this scene.
confused at first because, he's like making up this story for this guy's benefit about his daughter's spelling bee win.
Uh,
And I was like, what is he planning on doing? And it's really, there's not any good plan in place. He's just coming up with something to talk about to the guy.
right, right.
But I loved the detail of the guy being like, oh, so what's your daughter's name? And he was not prepared to have to say her name out loud.
Yeah.
And
Hesitates.
oh my God, that moment of acting just fucking killed my heart.
Yeah.
And his voice actually shakes. He says Sarah, and then it starts shaking. He's like, her name is Sarah. And I'm just like, oh, stop it!
Man.
It's
Yeah.
so sad. Oh. But the guy tells him, he says something about how, that quarry's run by the state. And the guy's like, yep. And he's like, yeah, that's weird. Because I know it's not, and you're
Right.
lying.
Right.
And this guy immediately is like, what the fuck is your problem?
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, I just want to know what really happened. And this guy tells him to stick his nose somewhere else. And then we cut abruptly to him out back, punching the shit out of this guy.
Yay!
Yup. I'm all right with it.
I should not be encouraging violence, but,
It's fine.
whatever. In this situation, I'll let it slide.
Yep.
Go police brutality. Because it's against an asshole, so fuck that asshole.
I forget that he's police even.
I know.
Like, he's not in uniform with any of this, but yeah, I guess it is,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It kind of is.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's kind of Thompson with that stick.
Mm-hmm.
And from Agent Carter, like, oh, he's going to need a
Oh, man, that was rough.
gonna need a new bandage for his fist. Because
down
he's
on this.
really punching this guy.
Yeah. So yeah, he's dealing with this dude, and the guy tells him that they just told me to show up to keep everybody away from the body, and
let them not get too close.
Yeah. And he then is like, well, who said? And the guy's looking over his shoulder, and he notices this black car that's sitting there, and he's like totally distracted, pulls his gun to like shoot the car, but they're too far. He doesn't, turns around, the other guy is bailed.
Guy's gone.
And he's just like, motherfucker. So I'm just going to jump ahead here to when he then, like, basically, he's had a few beers. He's already a little tipsy.
Yeah, he really
is.
is.
Here's a really good idea. I'll go to the morgue and punch
out the guard.
Oh, my God. It was so funny. O'Bannon said that you need to go back because there's an emergency or something. What are you even talking about? I don't report to O'Bannon. Did I say O'Bannon? I meant... okay, and then just punches him. The best.
So good.
And he goes in there, and this is when he cuts open the body. What did you think was going to happen here?
I knew I didn't think there was going to be like cotton batting inside of it. That surprised me. But I knew as soon as he pulled it out and he touched it, he obviously knew it wasn't a body. Yeah. But I didn't know what was going to be inside. I was going to be like, is it going to be like a piñata? So it could be candy?
Because you had theorized that it might be a different child. Because I did sort of theorize originally. That was my thought. But then when he put his hand on it and pulled it away, I was like, oh, the body's not cold. He knows that this isn't a real body. So at that moment, I knew it wasn't a real body. But I was like, is it going to be like plastic? And it's going to be like a rubber mask, like a Nixon mask, like a Halloween mask. And it's just going to be empty. But no, it's filled with... I like my filling it with candy idea better, but Agreed.
Cotton works. Cotton works, I guess.
So yeah, the cotton, for some reason, it spooked me. Like when
it's a doll.
Yeah, when he reaches in there and pulls that out, and also that, ostensibly, the autopsy's been performed already,
right?
And this fake body doesn't even have an autopsy scar.
No.
Like, there's the Y incision that's sewn up afterwards and that's not there.
Yeah.
So they're really not going through a ton of effort to make this look real. And that's, So yeah, when he reaches in and pulls that out, I just was like, oh, like there was something about that just freaked me out really bad.
I was just really excited because I was like, now Hopper is like really in this.
Yep.
I'm so happy that Hopper is totally in now. You know,
Yeah.
he's gotten more and more suspicious throughout, but now clearly, obviously, he knows there's a cover up and he's going to do his best to figure out what's going on. And his best is good because he's a good fucking cop.
Yep.
Who also happens to punch people a lot, but you know, it is what it is. He's punching other cops, so it's not as big a deal.
True.
You know, he's not punching civilians yet.
Yeah, so this basically leads to him getting a pair of wire cutters and heading over to the lab.
Right.
And that's the last that we see him for this episode, is just that him cutting that open.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get through his story. And then we can go back to Elle, who is channeling, essentially, via this radio.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, Joyce is hearing Will in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And
she pulls back the wallpaper.
Yeah. At first she goes to the other side of the wall thinking that he's outside.
Right.
But he's not. So then she's pulling the wallpaper back and you can see him through this weird pinkish, like, tissue.
It's like the wall's made out of a Jolly Rancher and she can just see
right?
It's like this translucent whatever it is.
It's super
but she can't get to him. Yeah. And she's saying, you know, he starts saying, it's here. Mm-hmm. And she says, I love you, but right now you need to run. You need to hide.
Oh God. She is like so, and this moment of the boys hearing him too.
Yeah.
So now they all know that this is real. It's not just Mike who heard it. And the thing that Will says is, it's like home, but it's so dark and it's so cold. Oh. And, you know, she's just like, just totally determined to find him. And whatever was there, when Elle kind of like loses concentration or disconnects or whatever, it's gone.
Yeah.
And Joyce is left with her regular wall, which she promptly begins to chop through.
Yeah, she just axes out this big hole in her house. And I'm like, well, if you were planning on selling that house to pay for the funeral, you're in trouble. Because now it has a big axe hole in it.
Oh my God. I feel so bad for her because she doesn't understand. And she's looking through the hole and like so upset and bewildered because she thought he was right there. And what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. It kills me.
It really is. And then right after that, her dickhead ex-husband shows back up.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I wasn't expecting that. I think, honestly, more than anything else, I was not expecting that.
Well, and the thing is, like, if you stop and think, his son's body was just found.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, but, like, yeah, that was the exact reaction that Owen had when we were watching this the other night. He's like, what the fuck is he doing here?
And her reaction to him of being one of...
Thank God somebody's here.
Yeah. And, you know, as much as she hates him, she's still, you know, part of her is like, oh, this is my son's father and he's here and he's going to hug me. Mm-hmm. Please, someone hug me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think that guy's going to believe her for a second because he seems like a dickhead. So.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he does seem like a dickhead, but not believing her is totally understandable.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, I would be that dickhead if it were me.
Oh, yeah. Because you don't know you're living in a horror movie.
Right, exactly.
Only Joyce knows she's living in a horror movie. And now Jonathan and Nancy. Because they go to the photo developing to the dark room. Mm-hmm. And he zooms in on the negative.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's something real spooky.
Something right there. And he's like, you know, in the middle of talking about, too, how he just doesn't like to interact with people. Mm-hmm. And that he takes photos because people aren't honest. And at least in photos, you can often, like, kind of see who they actually are.
Reality of things, yeah.
Which I thought was a cool explanation. And I like that he's like, I know it's weird. And she's like, no. And he's like, no, yeah, it's weird. It's fine. Like,
right. But then doesn't she say, well, what did you see in me?
Mm-hmm. She says, well, what was I saying when you took my picture?
Yeah.
Which he doesn't really answer.
No, he does not.
They get distracted by the photo.
The giant crazy monster in the photo was not really what I was expecting it to look like. It had like a six-pack.
I know. That was the thing that made me laugh, was that I was like, this monster's built.
Monster's buff. I was expecting it to be more like a crazy, like, bleh sort of monster, but I'm like, oh, it's like a demon.
Yeah, kind of. I see that.
So that freaked me out. That was not what I was expecting it to look like. But now they've seen it.
Right.
Now Jonathan's going to believe his mom, so yay. Maybe go back and, fight with his dickhead dad who's already shown back up. And be like, my mom's not crazy. And he's going to be like, okay, sure.
Right, yeah.
So.
Just, yeah. There's no way to bring in an outside person into this scenario and have it like
be a disaster.
Believable. Yeah. So I think that's about it. I'm like just checking up on the episode.
We didn't mention that, like, when Elle burns sets the thing on fire, the radio.
Oh, right.
She's handling, and she like collapses basically, and they have to carry her out, and there's like a fire alarm going off, and they have to get her out of the school.
Yep.
But then I don't think they do anything after that. You just see them.
Which I feel real bad, because that science teacher clearly went through a bunch of trouble to get that radio.
Yeah, I feel bad for the science teacher.
And there's no way he's not going to know they're responsible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They're in trouble. But, obviously their concern is, hey, our medium is collapsing.
Mm-hmm.
We should help her.
Yep.
Poor Elle. She's going through a lot of trouble for these guys that she just met.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. It's like, I guess just that she feels like she owes them somehow. Yeah. But, and also I can definitely see personally, if it were me, just wanting to prove that I wasn't lying to you.
Yeah.
Because they all thought that she was basically conning them.
Yeah.
For attention or for somewhere to stay, So, yeah, being able to be like, no, this is actually real, let me prove it, is certainly validating and helpful.
Right. So this is an episode where basically now at least half the main characters believe there's something weird going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge sea change. So Joyce has always believed there's something going on. Now Jonathan and Nancy believe. Now Hopper knows something's up, even if he doesn't think it's supernatural yet.
Yep.
And obviously all the boys believe.
Right.
Because now they've all seen what Elle is able to do. That's a lot of characters who now at least have some of the information.
Mm-hmm.
And are going to have to process, like, oh, there's some weird horror movie shit going on. Because that's it's always interesting when you're watching something like this, to have to put yourself in these kids' shoes and be like, oh, those movies we watch, they're coming true.
Mm-hmm.
Because they live in a setting where those movies exist.
Yep.
They live in a setting where Friday the 13th has already happened.
Oh, yeah.
So they must be looking at this like, this is crazy. How can this be happening in our reality? But they have to wrap their brains around it somehow.
And again, I really love the fact that everybody is starting to be on the same page with this, because it's such a conceit with a lot of movies and shows that there's always the one group that doesn't believe until they're eaten, basically.
Right.
Like, it's just too late now and you're dead.
Right.
And everybody is coming to the same conclusions on their own time, but they're distant enough that it's maybe going to actually make a difference that they know.
Right.
Which also the fact that they're kind of teaming up with each other inadvertently too.
Right. Right. And they all have different parts of the information, which is interesting, because the boys know about Elle. The Hopper knows about the cover up with the Department of Energy. Mm-hmm. Nancy has seen weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
Joyce has seen weird shit. Jonathan has seen weird shit, but they've seen different weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
So they can compare their weird shits.
Right.
So each little group has a different piece of the puzzle that if they manage to come together, they can start piecing a lot of stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
So go team everyone. Come
Woo-hoo!
on. Get it together. I'm hopeful.
Oh boy, I love this show so much.
Yeah. I'm excited. I get to go watch another one.
Only 4 left.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they've crammed so much into such a short period of time. I just love it.
They did, yeah. I know. I want more, like, right now. Can we just do that, guys?
No. We have until Thursday. I have to go to the doctor tomorrow.
Oh, no, I meant, like, a second season.
Oh, no.
But that, too.
But I mean, like, more. Yes, there's talk of a second season, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the reception this has gotten is really just unlike pretty much anything else that Netflix has done that wasn't Marvel.
Right.
So I think that this will do something to boost it. Okay, well, we have to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you again to everybody who made the show possible, who donated and supported on the GoFundMe page. Thank you all so much. And it was just very satisfying to be able to pay Maggie yesterday because the money went through.
Yes.
And I was able to give her a paycheck.
It was so cool. I posted on Facebook. I was like, I just got paid to talk about TV with my friend. It's awesome. And like everybody was like, how do I do that? How did you manage that? And I was like, I don't know. It was like a real serendipitous series of events that made this possible. So yay.
Elliot Kalin hosts the Flophouse with 2 other dudes, and he was interviewed because he was the head writer for The Daily Show for a while.
Okay.
And they asked him, like, so how did you what advice do you have for people who want to, follow in your footsteps in a way and become comedy writers and podcast hosts? And he's like, know all the right people and be super lucky.
Basically.
And I was reading it and I was super annoyed for a second, and then I was like, he's being really honest though. He's not trying to say like, oh, my hard work. He's like, no, this was all just really lucky.
Total random luck. It was like, yeah, I started listening to a podcast that I thought was cool, and then I became friends with the person who does the podcast because she's cool.
Woohoo!
Yay! That's about it.
And everybody, I hope that my sound was better this time around. I think that this new adapter that I got is working. My mic had been very muffled and weird for a little bit.
I think it sounds better.
Okay.
Again,
hopefully.
My headphones are broken.
That's true.
But from the one ear I can hear, it sounds better.
And we have one more episode coming for you this week. So yeah, I'm really excited. It's being able to cover this faster is just the best. I love it. Yes. It's a lot of work, but I don't care. It's just that good. So.
It's fun.
All right, everybody. Well, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/unspoiled, and you can pledge and get access to all kinds of other content. You can support us by going to iTunes and rating this show. If you're enjoying it, please leave a rating.
Yeah, it's up on iTunes now.
Yes, I'm really happy because it was taking so long. I started to be like, are they going to give me some fucking problem over here?
Right.
And it was so funny when I added this. I actually started a new page for me in Libsyn. I now have 3 full pages of podcasts. But yeah, you can leave a rating, or you can shop on Amazon by going to unspoiledpodcast.com/Amazon and shop there and bookmark it and shop there all the time. And I get a little cut out of Amazon's pocket, but it doesn't cost you anything, which is brilliant.
Yes.
All right. I think that's everything. Did you want to add anything, Madame?
No. We'll do another one in a couple days. I'm really excited.
Yay!